Your dreams are bigger, bolder, and more badass than the life you're living now, but something just keeps getting in the way. Join certified coach and former therapist Diann Wingert for the Driven Woman podcast. She'll show you how to get rid of whatever is holding you back so you can stop spinning your wheels and up-level your life. Get ready to hop in and buckle up. This is the Driven Woman podcast, and we're heading for the fast lane.
I've been pretty obsessed for the last few years with productivity. I wanted to get more done. I especially wanted to get more of the right stuff done. And more days than not, I just couldn't figure out why I was so tired and I felt like I had done so much, but I just wasn't getting where I wanted to. Well, since then, I've learned a couple of things. It's not really managing my time that was the issue. It really came down to managing my energy and managing my obligations. And one of the things I had to take a good hard look at was being involved with what I now call OPPs, other people's problems. Well, if you're not really, really careful, other people's problems can mess up your life big time. Now, listen, I'm not talking about turning your back when a bestie is in deep doo-doo and needs you to go out for drinks and listen to her complain about her crazy mother-in-law, tool of a boss, or lazy-ass boyfriend. Shit happens to all of us, and sometimes we bring that shit on ourselves. But if all your pals are up to their eyelashes in doo-doo on a regular basis, you, my friend, are in need of a new crew. The only way I know that is more effective at messing up your chance for a kick-ass life than getting overly involved in other people's problems is picking a loser guy and keeping him. More on that later. You know, it really is a cruel trick of nature that females, with very few exceptions, are just more caring, empathic, and willing to put the needs of others ahead of their own than males, most males. This is because of the hormone estrogen. You know, it's called the tend and befriend hormone for a reason, because it literally makes us care, sometimes too much, sometimes way too much. And it's one of the main reasons that we don't eat our young the way some other animals do, and why the human race is still around, for better or for worse, and for the most part, we're still on the top of the food chain. The point is, if you're female, you've got estrogen. And if you've got estrogen, you care about other people, sometimes to your detriment. You get drawn in by other people's problems much easier than most guys do. And once you're in, it can be really hard to get out again, or even gain perspective on what being overly involved in other people's problems is really costing you. I mean, stuff like time, energy, effort, focus, sometimes money, and sometimes a whole lot more than that. Let's face it, you could get so wrapped up trying to help other people deal with their problems that you've got zero time or energy to deal with your own, including the problems that are a direct result of their problems. Here's an example. Let's say your friend has a new dude that she's totally nuts for and keeps talking about him every time you two get together. Even though it's only been a few weeks, it feels like this guy has completely taken over your friend's life, and she doesn't even remember how to ask how you are before launching into the latest between the two of them. Okay, you've been madly in love and talked obsessively about guys yourself, so you don't want to be judgy or act uncaring, but it's starting to annoy you that you can't even get a word in edgewise about your relationship, your annoying boss, or that weird rash that has you super worried. Then you notice you haven't heard from her in a couple of weeks, which is unusual. So you text her and find out she's depressed. So you suggest coffee, because that's what good friends do. And because you know alcohol is a depressant that you read about somewhere. And as soon as she gets there, oh man, you can barely hide how alarmed you are at her appearance. This is the look you've seen before, and your intuition tells you her new relationship is abusive. What do? Confront her and tell her she needs to end it immediately? Insist she move in with you, quote unquote, until she gets settled? Listen and encourage her to call anytime, day or night. I'm here for you. Express concern for her well-being and respect that as an adult, she has to make her own choices. But then you pick up the tab. Or change the topic after a few minutes, because hearing about dysfunctional relationships is just not how you want to spend your free time. What do? It's hard to listen to these responses without feeling kind of judgy towards at least one of them and the person who would react in that way. But It's also true that many women find themselves in situations with other people that they had no intention of being involved in. But once they are, they don't know how to back out. So they just keep going, getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. It may not be about an abusive or dysfunctional relationship, but they might just as well be, because the amount of time, energy, effort, focus, and maybe even cash they're investing just keeps continuing. And if you've never felt resentful towards someone for all the time you spent dealing with their shit, you, my friend, are a rare exception. We've all found ourselves in this situation at least once, whether it's a friend, a relative, a coworker, a neighbor, and some of us have surrounded ourselves with other people's problems to the point where we hardly have time for a life of our own. So, what's the solution? During your friends, the minute they start talking, stop. So, what's the solution? Dump your friends the minute they start talking about problems? Pick up your phone and start scrolling through your Instagram feed whenever someone starts talking about anything heavy and hope they get the hint? Become a hermit and forget about having friends altogether? Well, fortunately, you don't have to be a jerk or go into hiding to fix this problem. But you do have to set some standards for what you will and won't tolerate in your relationships and your life. After all, you created them, and you have to live as though you mean it, meaning relationships need to be protected and defended. So you really can't afford to have too many that are dysfunctional. And a relationship that's all about problems, I got news, it's dysfunctional. It will do you no good to say you have standards, but then waffle every time someone compromises them. You'd actually be better off just putting up with those problems than saying you're going to do one thing and actually doing another. So if you're serious about dealing with this and you've got one too many people in your lives that have one too many problems, the first step is to be honest with yourself about why you are tolerating this and being honest with yourself that you no longer choose to be. Write down specifically what you are and are not willing to tolerate. For example, you might be willing to hear that your best friend's boyfriend cheats on her and she stays with him. Not everybody can deal with that. You just might not want to hear about it when it happens. In this example, because it involves someone else and it also involves a change in what you're willing to tolerate, the next step is you have to tell your friend your new rule. This is the part that feels scary, and you'll probably want to avoid it and find yourself putting it off again and again, waiting for the just right time to let her know. Well, unless your friend is extremely touchy, which is another thing you may be choosing to tolerate and might want to reconsider, waiting for the right time is a loose translation for being a coward. Now, I'm not trying to offend you, but we get the life we tolerate. And if we tolerate behavior from others that's making us unhappy, it's up to us to do something about it because they're just going to keep on doing what's working for them, which is to dump on you. Now, I don't know you, so I'm not trying to call names here. I'm just connecting the dots and calling my own self out because I've been that person too, the coward. So I know what I'm talking about. And here's the bigger picture. If you're spending so much time, energy, effort, and maybe dollars trying to fix other people's lives or prevent other people from experience the consequences of their choices, if so, and you're satisfied with the fact that you're making this decision, or are you resentful that it's taking time away from focusing on your needs, your wishes, your wants, your plans, your goals, or preventing you from fixing your own problems? Well, you got to pull up your big girl pants and face the fact that you, yes, you, are 100% responsible for this reality because you are the only person on the planet that can fix it. The other person, the one with the problems, he or she is so involved, they're not going to give you permission to take back your time and energy, and they're not going to see that it's not helping just talking to you about it. Don't even think about apologizing for the fact that you've decided to let them live their own lives because they're not going to see it that way. All you need to do is get crystal clear with yourself about what you've been tolerating and the fact that you're no longer willing to do so, and then begin the process of making it stop. Now, I got to be honest with you, this is not easy and it may take some time. But the hardest part is actually convincing yourself that it's okay. It's okay for you to pull back from this. It's okay for you to want your time and your energy back because, frankly, most of the time, these kind of problems, the kind that just go on and on and on because you're talking about them, I almost think about it like exfoliation. Dumping the problem on you means they get to scrape the upper layer off, but it always grows back. And then there you are again and again. So if you've had enough, it's up to you to call stop. Let your friend know you really do care about them, but you don't think it serves either one of you to keep on discussing the problems. I think what you'll discover if you do that is that there are probably things in your own life that you've been avoiding, some things that could use some of your own attention, and then you can get busy doing that. So if you've had enough of your perfectionism holding you back, or how about your procrastination, people-pleasing, distractibility, imposter complex, or all of the above, I've got you. And for the first time ever, in addition to my individual coaching program, I'm going to be offering group coaching online this fall. To get all the details, you got to get on the waiting list. There's a link in the show notes and also on my website. Want to hear from someone who's actually worked with me? Here's my client, Rachel.
I didn't have you helping me along the way to understand a lot of this stuff, the meds would have been a waste for me, a complete and total waste. I would have had a little bit more energy maybe, but still the habits, whatever. There's no magic pill. It's always going to be something I'm going to have to work on. And I am understanding that and being okay with that and just kind of working through that and thinking and being intentional and stopping myself and doing all of the things for the first time in my life. I'm going to tell you right now, the meds have allowed me to slow stuff down enough that I've never been this effective at anything cognitive ever in my life. But I've also never had it explained to me by somebody who understands what's going on in my head either.
You've been listening to the Driven Woman podcast with Diann Wingert. Want more straight talk and strategy each week that will take you from spinning to winning? Don't forget to hit subscribe in your podcast player so you won't miss a single episode. Then head on over to the Driven Woman free and private Facebook group community. See you there.